My guest today has squat every day for the past 5 years. That is 1,870 days at the time of recording. What lessons have you learned, Ivan, from this epic journey you've been on?
I think mostly it's the mental aspect that you can do whatever you want to do, man. Take it as day at a time, and days just go on by. So I think what I've learned most about myself is that I can do anything really. As long as you set up your routine and you set up like a daily schedule, if you want, put it that way, you can put anything into your goals and you will achieve it as long as you just chip away at it. I kind of got obsessed with the whole squatting years and years and years ago, and I kind of made that my kind of mini project on the side. And I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna, have 52 sessions a year to try and work this out. I'm gonna try and do it every single day rather than once a week. And that's kind of where it all started. And then as the routine settled in, it just became fun, and I was really excited about, to kind of tackle it. And all of these lessons that I've learned have kind of permeated into other areas of my life where, it's just easier to tackle things, knowing that I have showed myself that I can do something every single day for 5 years. I think that's kind of the biggest chunk of what I'm kind of thinking right now.
Seems as if your transformation begun with, I want to improve my squat numbers specifically for the physical goal, but it's morphed into the process of just learning how to be a better human and how that translates to everything else, right?
Yeah, but it's funny, a lot of people that have followed me for a lot of years, they said that this channel is turned into a philosophy channel. And I kind of feel that way. Like, it doesn't really matter what the genre that you're obsessed with. If you document something every single day and it's not just the highs, you go through these dark periods where you wake up 4:30 in the morning because you got a stacked schedule for the day, and you're like sitting there in the garage, everyone else is sleeping around you. Your muscles are broken, the mobility is shot, and you're supposed to get into this 180 ATG squat. And then you start to kind of speak to your maker, what am I doing here? And then you kind of, you find your philosophy in those moments, and then you kind of realize, wow, man, like this is deeper than just squatting. This is getting a little bit, on the philosophy side. So yeah, I'd say that. I think it's morphed into something much, much bigger than just a simple squat. It could be anything. You could be freaking doing lawn bowls, but if you go into the depths of trying to get better and you're having lots of difficulty, which has kind of been my story, probably more so than the successes. Difficulties, failure teaches you a lot more, man. I come from a basketball background, but this is something that is way, way, way deeper than I've ever, played in terms of sports. This is a soul-searching event. But, every single day that I come in and I squat, it feels like an accomplishment. The runners talk about the runner's high. Every day, man, I train and I feel better. Like, not even the physical aspect. I just feel better spiritually, mentally, and I feel like I'm ahead of the day. It's really bizarre, man. For people that have never experienced something like this or have never experienced the runner's high, it is definitely a thing, man. It's definitely a thing.
There's that classic quote about it's a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the capabilities that his body's capable of. And I'm curious to know what results you've seen since you first begun training to where you are today. Like, how much can you squat, etc.?
So I started, this is the thing that I probably haven't documented really well enough at all. When I really got hot about training, my missus and I got serious in our relationship and we moved in together. At the time, we were both paying damn near $900 for Anytime Fitness membership. And so we moved in together at 24, I want to say, 23, 24. And we were like, man, we could probably get something at home for, $1,800, $1,900 that we're paying. And so I ended up getting a squat rack then. And so I started basically training every day when I was 23, even though the squat every day journey started 5 years ago. I started training every day because I just couldn't walk past the squat rack and the weights. It was just too appealing.
It's too alluring. You got to do it.
Shove the cars out of the the garage, and then, you'd walk through the corridor, open the door, and like, yeah, all right, I'll jump in for a quick set of 60s in the bed.
Next thing you know, it's a 2-hour session.
Yeah, I'll just go in there and just have a think about, what I want to do. And I'll just sit in there and I'll do some wrist curls and I'll do some pull-ups and I'll just basically, I don't know, chill out over there. It's not even training. It's just exploring, I would call it. And so, back then I was probably also squatting for most days. But then also I was playing basketball still and I was, working around that. So when I really started squatting every day, my max already had been, I wanted to say like 170, 180 already. So between the ages of 25 to about, I don't know, probably 30, 31 before I started squat every day, I already had 180 under my belt previously. However, the months and the days leading up to the squat every day, I hadn't squatted for a while. We moved address. We didn't have a shed or garage in our new building. And so we bought a shed, poured the slab, all of that stuff. And so when I started, after 4 or 5 months of not squatting every day, I think the first video was 160. So I kind of dipped below my previous best. Obviously, I wasn't peaked at all. So basically 160 was day one, and now I can do 215. And the most interesting thing about all of that is that all the other lifts other than squatting improved. No matter how hard I worked on the squat, it was just this naturally difficult thing for me to do. It's just, I am not built for squatting. I'm that guy, if you wanted to say, I fall in love with things that don't come easy to me. If something comes easy to me, I'm like, this is already boring. Same with video games, man. Like, you play video games, if it's easy, I'll turn it off and I'll walk away. I love the struggle. And the squat is a damn struggle to me, man. Like, for most of my squatting career, if you want to say, I had trouble leaning over. Sure, let's do ankles. Do ankles for ankles mobility, strengthening, doesn't help. Okay, let's do glutes. And that's where the channel was born, man. I tried everything and anything under the sun, documented books and books of writing my journal, trying to connect these dots. But, the deadlift went from 220 when I first started the squat every day. Now it's 285, so that's a lot of progress there, a lot more. Bench went from 140 to 152. So, there's all these other things that have kind of gone up, even though my whole heart and soul was in the squatting, mindset.
Slow progress is something that we all have to deal with if we've been lifting for a few years. How do you mentally overcome this internal burden?
Yeah, so for me, I've been all sorts of different thoughts about it. The way I think about it is like this, man. Even though you're training right now, training really hard, and you are not physically feeling the result of your labor, I reckon you are storing something underneath the covers, let's say, that you will see later on. So you might be planting the seeds for progress. It's there, you just can't see it yet. It's that, I don't know what the famous tree is. It goes like years and years and years without even like shooting a sprout. And then it blows up. Like, so let's say 9 years, it's not showing anything. And in 1 year, it goes like 4 or 5 meters. It's kind of like that. And I've definitely felt that. Like in the last couple of months, I've went and improved my deadlift for 20 kilos, right? From 265 to 285 in the last 2 months. Like, this is crazy stuff. Prior to that, 2 years of no progress. Now, that's impossible. I think the progress was happening there under covers for 2 years. I just hadn't found that one domino hasn't fallen that was really holding me back. And then you chip that thing away, boom, the floodgates open, and it's like a step-loaded function on a graph of in progress. So it's like a big step. So even though you might be feeling like you're not progressing right now, do the work. Put the work in, because you might experience like a dam opening effect where you have all of these, let's say, 2.5 kilo increments all come to you in like bunches. So that's kind of how I process it. Yeah, sure, it's slow right now, feeling great right now, everything's setting right now. Stay with the work. You will see all of this come through. You might just come in bunches instead of like reminding you every couple of weeks that you're progressing.
Depends on your level of advancement as well, because if you're a beginner who hasn't been lifting for more than a year, you're going to see progress workout to workout. But then as you become intermediate, it might be multiple weeks at a time. And then as you become advanced, it's a conversation of months, or in your case and myself, years. And you can look at this two ways. You can be pessimistic that your rate of progress has slowed down, or you can look at it the other way and be like, wow, I've achieved something with my body which requires such an amount of time and effort in order to progress. It's gratifying to know that you have advanced, because that's probably the most objective sign, your rate of progress, with probably how much you're lifting as well as your level of advancement.
Yeah, this is something that I struggle with immensely. You know, at the beginning of another stage. You know, when I stopped playing basketball in my early 20s, went into the gym, had a few years there where I was just not doing anything other than just working and starting my professional career. But sort of kind of made my way into the gym, started with lifting, and I felt that mental anguish of, I started training bodybuilding, right? Like I didn't really know anything other. So you come in, you start doing your weights, this way, that way, all the machines, no real program, but you see the improvement. And then for whatever reason, you just start to feel flat after, I don't know, several months. And you feel like you're not even getting bigger anymore. Or the shirt that you're wearing is a little bit looser. And it's like, what's going on, man? Like, how do I quantify? How do I get an objective feeling that I'm actually moving forward? This was one of the things that kind of eventually turned me off of bodybuilding, because of that subjective nature of it. You look at the mirror of my what have I eaten? Am I carved up? Enough water in me? And I kind of got attracted to the whole performance side of things more so than anything. It's like, okay, can I squat this? Can I bench this? Can I get, because that's an objective thing. And even that eventually slows down, and then you go into the rut of an intermediate lifter where, like we talked about, you go months on end without any real progress. There's hints here and there. Okay, I'll put a rep on, the 10 rep max over here or whatever, but the 1 rep max hasn't moved in a while. And as you know, like the 1 rep max is it's a nervous system expression, equally as much as it is in muscular. So it's kind of like, it's hard, man. Like, the whole peaking aspect of any sport, whether you're a swimmer or a runner, is a very interesting, it's an interesting thing. And, gold medals have been won and lost purely on the peaking. You might have better athletes there on the grid. They just haven't peaked right. For whatever reason. The other day I heard there was a guy at the gym that went to Thailand for 7 weeks after he finished his law degree, and so had this like 7-week, thing in Thailand. And he said there was like this street. I've never been to Thailand, but he called it like a fitness street or something. It's like a boulevard of just like gyms and whatever. And he was saying that there was places there where people go on camp before fights. And so this whole camp idea, or where we go on 2 months on a camp where you don't see wife, kids, family, you're just there to train. It's like, those are the things that we need to do to really peak effectively, because we are biological organisms floating around in this freaking universe that are very susceptible to any sort of, even if you experience some sort of stress on the side, that will impact you, man. That will impact you physically as well. So it's, peaking is something that we really want to see, the sign of progress. But peaking is kind of that top 10% of your performance that don't get too stressed about that. Focus on the 80% of the meat and potatoes where you're actually doing the work, the building blocks.
This comes back to what you said about the expression of strength to its full potential isn't always there because you've been training consistently hard for a long time. You've got that fatigue. So 1, progress is going to take time to actualize. And 2, you're not always going to improve your 1 rep max every single time that you go to test it, because it's just fascinating, the interplay of the human body. I think that's what keeps us so engaged in this physical practice, because it's not like you're only doing squats. There's other things in your program in terms of exercises. You change just one of those movements, doing more or less, and then how that impacts your main exercise, let alone other things like if you're getting some aches and pains, what does that do to your body? And just all of it coming together can be really complicated. But what I love about your squat everyday philosophy is you're showing up regardless, because often how you feel can be a lie. Because I'm sure you've had days as well where you're like, there's just no way I'm going to perform today. I feel sore. I'm a little bit, my mood isn't the best. I really don't want to be here. Bam. You hit one of the best workouts of the year. How does that work? Talk me through that.
Oh, man. I'm a shift worker, right? Like, I'm a nurse at a hospital, shift work, 7-day rotating roster, all that stuff. And so, I have nights, and it's become a bit of a meme with me that, the guys say like, "Oh, just wait for Ivan to do a block of nights, and then we'll see the next PR." Like, I have no idea what is going on. Like, right, it can't be a coincidence anymore, dude. There has to be something deeper than this. I don't know whether it's like a increase in adrenaline. I have had so many, probably in excess of 10 sessions, where I've come in after a night shift. So there's a 16-hour fast involved in me working the night, sleeping after the night, and then usually go straight to the gym, because if I eat after all of that fasting, I'm just a wreck. So then I get up, I go to the gym. I feel horrible, dude. Like, I am running on fumes. I warm up, and I feel horrible. Like, I feel rotten. But then as soon as I warm up, I feel like this behemoth, man. Like, I feel so strong, and it doesn't even make sense to me. And I'm so angry. I'm so sad. Like, I feel horrible, right? But the bar is moving. And I'm like, I have no idea what is going on. There is no, I cannot, nothing in science is predicting this. How can a guy that has fasted for so long, underslept, circadian rhythm is out of the window, come in and outperform his well-rested, well-fed state? That makes no sense to me. And this has happened so many times to me. It's like, I'll do a night, I come in, and I'm like, I'll just go to the gym, and I won't do any volume because I can't. I don't have any fuel in me. I'll just quickly kind of run up through the weights. I'll do some squats. I'll do some deadlifts, and I'll get out of there and then go home, shower, eat, and then sleep. That's kind of what I do to kind of get back in the normal swing of things. Heavy session, gets me tired, and then I fall asleep by 10 o'clock that night, whatever. I come in, I set a PR. And this has puzzled me for such a long time, trying to work out what's going on. I've got a couple of doctor mates around me. They're like, Ivan, it has to do something to do with your endocrine system. It has to be like an adrenal response to the fatigue, to the state you're in. When I'm really, like, if I sleep 12 hours, I know I'm going to be really weak. So if I rest like a madman, like a corpse for 12 hours of sleep, I wake up, I'm sluggish, I can't warm up, I'm just tired, I'm yawning. I don't know. And so, if you really want me to perform today, just don't get me in a fasted state for the next 10 hours. I'll go in and I'll just, I don't know. It's really, like, part of me is thinking maybe because you're mentally in like a mild degree of distress. And so you're not happy with life in this present moment. And then a little bit of pain and agony in the gym that we experience during these heavy lifts is relatively not as disruptive as when you are living it up in Bali on a freaking beach.
It's almost as if you're channeling some fight or flight response, and you're also more completely out of it in terms of sleep deprivation, nutritional deprivation, and you're just more in your body, even though it doesn't rationally make sense based on what we know with science and how important sleep is. But I just want to bring your extreme example to what most of us would experience, which is we've got a pretty consistent schedule, likely sleeping around 8 hours a day. If, for whatever reason, you have a 7-hour a night sleep, don't lose your marbles and be like, I can't go and train because it's not optimal in this case. Just show up, use an element of auto-regulation if necessary. At best, you'll surprise yourself. At worst, you'll come in, do your session, which is still money in the bank.
Yeah. Oh, dude. And so that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it that I've found, because I train every day, like you mentioned auto-regulation there, like that's kind of been how I've done this. I come in and I always say to people all the time, man, you need to warm up. Don't make the call off the couch because there's fog. I call it a fog. I've done office days in ED over there. We have clinical days and then we have office days. I sit there and I'm auditing spreadsheets for like 8 hours. I haven't moved. Then I get home and I'm exhausted. On the drive home, I'm driving. Oh my God, what have I done? I've done nothing. I haven't been digging trenches all day. Why am I so fatigued? I'm this guy that's supposedly into fitness and squatting. Why am I so tired? I've done
Step
nothing.
Count is probably less than 5,000.
100%. Like, I've had an office. And then I get home and I'm like, all right, let me just force myself to warm up. You warm up, that fog leaves you, a bit of circulation happens, you warm up a bit and you're like, wow, I'm actually quite good. I can attack. So I always say, every single day, regardless of what you're feeling, walk in. If you can walk in, warm up, and then make an assessment. When you break that first sweat, then you'll have an accurate assessment of what your body's telling you, what the feedback is. If still after the warm-up, you're still feeling a bit crappy, okay, cool, you are tired for sure. So, auto-regulate that, do whatever you can and then leave. So the auto-regulation thing is 100%. To add more complexity to all of this, I've done something called a pig squat routine, which is basically a masochist way of training. This is like German volume on steroids, basically. So you walk up to the bar. This is pig squat routine. Some of you listeners might know about this. It was made famous by, I think, a Finnish Olympic weightlifter. Went to the Olympics, I believe. Crazy squatter. So you walk up to the bar. You squat an empty bar for 20. Then you put 10 kilos on. Or is it 5 kilos on? I think it's 5 kilos on. I forget now. 5 or 10 kilos on. I'm pretty sure it's 10 kilos. It's 10 kilos. You squat it for 19. Add another 10 kilos, squat it for 18. Add another 10 kilos, squat for 17. And you go 16, 15, 14. As the reps go down, the weight goes up, right? And so you end up in a 210 kilo squat for a single. It is brutality. You end up doing something like 200 odd reps, and it's just nausea central. I've done these workouts and I've stopped like at 4 or 5 reps, something like that, 180 for 4 or something like that. Can't remember. I haven't done it for a little while. You think I'm done for the next month in terms of fatigue. I come the next day, man. Squat every day, bro. So I come in, I warm up, and I'm like, I feel brutally strong right now. So I work up to a 200 or 205 squat. What is going on here, man? I don't understand how that can be the case. So my muscular endurance is spent. I could not repeat that workout again. However, the central nervous system part of it, like the expression of 1 rep strength, is still around. So that whole thing where people talk about, periodization, which I don't dispute, what I do is not the greatest way to go about things, without a doubt. But the body is I almost feel like the body's capable of much more than we program for. That's kind of what I've taken away from some of these things. It's like, which trainer, which coach will say to you, all right, Ivan, man, we're going to set up a 1 rep max scenario after a block of 4 nights that you do at work. No one's ever going to say that, but that's kind of where I feel the strongest for whatever reason, man. It's weird.
It seems as if the novelty of these workouts interspersed can almost spark your body into this untapped potential. This is kind of my bro science interpretation of it, because it's not as if you're doing that plus 10 kilos rep down squat workout every single day. This was just put in as a circuit breaker, and for whatever reason that helped to actualize something within you.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. Yeah, it's definitely, a potential. It's just, for me, I always thought that if you do a lot of volume, that means that you now have this fatigue kind of hovering in the system, and there's on the graph, there's going to be the decay of that fatigue over X amount of time. So you're going to have to wash away that fatigue in order for you to feel strong in that one moment for 1 rep max. However, in my scenario, I feel like I don't think you need to go to fatigue 0 to feel the strongest. There is a point where that central nervous fatigue also, central nervous readiness also decays away with the fatigue decaying. And so there is a moment in time where you don't want to be too rested. You want to be in a state where you are just tired enough, but perfect for another war, another battle with the maximum weight. It's interesting, it's really, really interesting. And obviously they will vary lifter to lifter. And I think also personality type. If you're the aggressive type that likes to scream and carry on before a lift, likely you need a different type of program. I'm more of a calm lifter. Even if I'm getting ready for a 285 deadlift, I'm there I'm feeling I want to feel everything. I want to talk to myself, calm approach. And then there is like a nuclear bomb before I lift, like internally. I don't exhibit anything externally. And this is something that, I've read a lot about even before I started the squat every day. There's a guy out of New Zealand. He's got a PhD in philosophy, actually. Academic, proper smart fella. His name is Matt Perryman. And he wrote a book called Squat Every Day. and it's a popular book. People that have kind of been in this, realm of squatting every day or high frequency training have read it. This guy is not a sports guy. This is a PhD in philosophy who kind of like you and me, maybe more like me, I'm not sure. I know you're a physio, so you do have, academia behind you. But he was like, I really like training in a garage, and let me look into this kind of from the side. And so he started reading a lot of literature coming from academic background. He knew how to, process all of the literature. And so he, pieced all these neuroscience and biology, all of this together, and he wrote this book. And in the book, he talks about, he references all these neuro science behind it, that in order for you to train every single day, you need to minimize the external stresses. So no music, that was one of the biggest things. No ammonia salts, none of that. Just make sure you are calm lifting every single day, because as he showed in the book, it's the emotional response to hardcore training that fatigues us more than the actual physical aspect of it. So if you get roused so much, somebody slaps you in the face, somebody hits you in the face, somebody slaps you again, you're down 5 kilos of ammonia, and then you picture your child burning in a car, then you walk up to the bar to lift. That is an immense dump of adrenaline that's going to have you dealing with it for a long time. And so, I like to be calm, and kind of that's where it comes from. Be calm, so then you can repeat your, hard training sessions more often.
That's a great tip for regular training, because if you're having to get yourself hyper aroused for every single time you're going for that top set, you will plateau, if not regress. I've seen that happen. I've experienced it myself when I'm progressing in any exercise and it's at the expense of having to do that. I can't sustain it. And you almost have to shift your perspective to, if I'm having to do that every time in regular training, do I really own the weight? I mean, if you need to sniff the ammonia, have 400 milligrams of caffeine, your favorite track, sure. If you're trying to display your maximum strength, 1 rep max once in a blue moon to test your strength, cool, so be it. But I mean, we're talking about the day-to-day process, which is more important because you spend more of your time there.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's how I look at it. I mean, I'm not a competitive powerlifter or anything like that. I do it for myself. Sure, like if I was up in the ranks of lifting crazy weights and I was going to nationals and whatever, okay, cool. There is a scenario there that I potentially could win a trophy. Okay, once in a year for this, cool. Do whatever you need. But in training, to do that, and then to, some people base their percentages for the next block off of a super hyped up performance. I don't think that's a accurate way to progress, because now you're basing yourself on this Super Saiyan you, which is probably going to ruin and make it very, very difficult for the next block. Like 85% of that is not 85% of your normal.
Well said. And the same can be going for pain and injury. You're just way more likely to get some type of niggle because you're playing with something that you're trying to essentially trick your nervous system into doing.
Yeah. And, there's been lots of people talk about this, mothers lifting whatever. I don't know if that's a real thing. It's ever happened, but superhuman strength exhibited in like fight or flight scenarios where there's a child under a burning car, you got to lift it, whatever, all that stuff. Technically speaking, I think we are much more capable than we can show every day. In extreme situations, we are much more capable, but the reason why the body doesn't allow us is that it's self-preservation, it's evolution, right? Like if you start popping biceps on the deadlift because your body failed to, give you the sensory feedback, okay? And the sensory feedback is your brain is the master, man. Like your brain knows a lot more than you think. And so there is a receptor in your bicep tendon that's constantly talking to your brain. And when things start to kind of like get near popping, it's going to deregulate some of that central nervous drive to that particular tissue to preserve it, But if there is a Viking with an axe and a sword, running towards you, sure, you're probably going to run a 10-second freaking 100-meter sprint and beat Usain Bolt out of there, right? But then at what expense? You've ruptured both hands, that stuff. So cool, we're all capable of these crazy things, but like to live it every single day, you are asking for, like you said, injuries, And as we all know, as an intermediate or perhaps advanced lifter, staving off injury is probably the single best thing for your progress. Injury costs you months, if not in certain occasions, years, depending on how severe it is. So if you can train and micro progress the smallest slightest bit and avoid injury, success. I mean, I play basketball. I try to do that whole thing where you're lifting very heavily. You're doing popular programs. 5x5, Mark Rippetoe, he was the craze when I first kind of got in. And I'm also playing basketball 3 times a week. So before my squat session, I'm there like working on my dorsiflexion, cranking it, putting a kettlebell on. Oh, yeah, smash that ankle. Get that dorsiflexion, put the Ollie shoe on. Yeah, boom, boom. I'm squatting so great. Okay, so now I've stretched the living hell out of my ankle, and I'm going to go play basketball, where I'm changing direction rapidly, jumping between all these feet, rolling ankles. Voila, Ivan rolls an ankle really badly, ruptures all these ligaments in my dude. Like, it's very, very hard to do that. And so, boom, Ivan's now out for 6 months. He can't squat, he can't deadlift, he can't do anything, can't play basketball. So injury, man. Like, injuries cost me a few times in my career of training, and so try and lift calm and have less chance of injury. That's probably the best.
I like that so much. And also not rushing the process, but we can all hear wisdom, tips, and lessons from us older OGs in the lifting game. But unfortunately, you have to get some type of niggle to be like, ooh, I'm not bulletproof. And if you're smart enough, you can analyze what contributed to that. Oh, I tried to lift 10% more than I've ever done before. Okay, that might be too big a jump when I'm going for a 1 rep max. Next time I'll be more sensible. Or you look and you're like, in this session, I was, warming up and I just felt this niggle. It just did not feel like a joint thing. It felt like a deep muscular type of sensation, but I pushed on and I had a tear of some kind. You almost have to go through these to learn that. But I just hope that 1, people can almost learn from our mistakes. And 2, if they do push things too far, which, the human body is not perfect, even if you do everything correctly, stuff can go awry at times, that you were sensible enough for it not to be catastrophic.
As you were saying that, I thought about a conversation I had in the gym the other day with a young fella. I'm that old OG now, at the gym, and I'm telling him some said wisdom. And I can see it in his eyes, man. He ain't taking any of that in.
I'm different. What is this, 30-something? No.
Yeah. I can just see it in him. And I said to him, I'm like, listen, man, like, dude, I know you're not going to listen to any of this stuff, but
but I got to tell you anyway.
I have to tell you, because it's my responsibility as the older statesman in this gym. But like, if I was listening to me, I'll probably not listen either. But like, maybe the smart people, maybe the LeBrons and the Kobes and the Messis and the Ronaldos, maybe those guys did listen and didn't screw themselves up. Sometimes you need a bit of intelligence and a bit of control and a bit of maturity at a much earlier age to go, you know what? I reckon that dude is right, man. I reckon I'm gonna listen to him. That whole maturity thing in any sport is a big thing. Like, when I was 18, I wanted to go out and drink every night, whereas probably Ronaldo didn't do that because maybe there was another OG in his ranks that said, hey, listen, man, like, you got potential, man. This girls and all of that, put that to the side. It's always going to be there. Get up tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock in the morning and you run. And that's going to limit your circle of friends, the people that are not doing anything life special, nothing special. That guy ain't doing nothing. Don't let them kind of take you down. And so in a way, like, when you speak to people that are, this fella that I'm talking to is 17 and he's strong. He's got all the capabilities. He can do whatever he wants. And I always tell him, some wisdom. But I can see that my drop of wisdom is like a drop in the ocean. And he's hearing liters and liters of other information. Oh, dude, just take, 150 tests a week. You're still natural, man. So he's kind of, that's more appealing to him because that's real stuff, man. What Ivan's talking about is just injury prevention.
My perspective as a physio, where I've seen the light bulb go off in people's mind, is you come from a performance first perspective. If you do this correctly, you will be the strongest you can become, and you'll be way stronger than all these other people because you will be calculated. You're training like someone that is mature and advanced, and you will have the performance. Fuck the injury. Don't talk about injury or pain. No one's proactive with that until they have to deal with it. It's about what are the gains? Muscle, strength, lifts going up. That's how you do it.
That's how you sell it. You tell them the good stuff first. It's that my brother, he did some sales back in the day, and he was saying how like the training there was, you know, you want to talk to them. Well, what's got you into this conversation with this person is to tell them some bad news. Let's say, no, you can't have 10% off. If you just say that, you've burned the bridge. But instead, you start off with like, hey, you know, this is a great computer. So you start with something positive, like you're saying, performance, dude. Like you're a beast, man. Like you're gonna be lifting like crazy. When you're my age, you're gonna be Eddie Hall's record would go down, man. Like, you're on the path to success. Please don't do steroids now. Like, you know, like that kind of stuff. It's like it's just yeah. There's definitely a way of talking to a younger. I mean, we were both 17 once, and I remember that stuff, man.
Hey, you know what? I'm sure this applies to parenting as well. It's the actions speak louder than words. You can shout this with a megaphone, but if someone is curious enough and they see, oh, look at Ivan squatting this tremendous weight, he's doing something different that other people aren't. What is that?
Yeah, that's it. That, you know, yeah, in my mind, like as soon as you said that, I thought about winning. Winning cures everything. You don't have a voice in this space unless you look good or you can perform good. Man, this fitness FAQ guy, man, like he's talking about stretching all the time. Oh crap, he can do splits? Oh wow. So he can do that stuff? All right, let me pull up a seat, dude. What were you saying again? All right. So this is how that action speaks louder. You can talk about it. You can say like, yeah, I reckon 4 days, four squat sessions a day is the way to go. If I say that, whatever. But if somebody says that with a gold medal in the Olympics, so what are we talking about here, bro? So okay, I reckon I'm gonna try that. He's convinced me. So it's kind of, you know, winning makes you respected and puts more weight on each word that you speak about that topic. So if you go to, you know, a professor of cardiology comes into a conversation about somebody with chest pain, everyone's like this. No one's speaking. No one's got an opinion. This dude, he's dedicated his whole life for the heart health, weight, performance, credentials. So, you know, with the kids, the same thing, man. You know, I can speak day and night about don't eat the lollies, but every chance they get, they look around the corner, dad stuffing his face in the pantry full of lollies. You know, it's not going to go well. You know, what are you saying? Mixed messaging.
This episode is sponsored by Fitness FAQs. Do you want to build muscle and master calisthenics? Our workout programs teach you how to train smarter, not harder. Use the coupon code podcast10 at checkout to save 10% off when shopping at fitnessfaqs.com. I've noticed as well when you're training, it's rare to see this when people are lifting heavy, but you're a raw lifter. I don't see you using a belt, knee sleeves. Can you talk about why that's the case?
First of all, you know, lifting with equipment is not bad. I've come to that conclusion after years of thinking internally it's bad. The reason why I felt it was bad is because I had a back injury in my early days of lifting. It scared the living daylights out of me that I thought in that moment that I was going to end up in a wheelchair. I heard a loud pop in my lower back when I was doing, of all things, I was doing these tricep extensions on the preacher kill machine, stand thing, whatever you want to call it. Sitting there doing that, and I put it on my shoulder, go to put it down, and that twisting motion, boom. Loud pop, drop on the ground, immense pain, weird paresthesia, numbness, both legs, took my breath away. I'm terrified, I'm sitting there. After 15, 20 minutes, slowly, gingerly get up, go to my car, drive my manual car home, wake up in the morning, and I was all right. Still kind of stiff, but I was all right. So then that changed me from doing biceps and shoulders and lats and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, I need to get my back stronger. And that's the whole start of the journey of squatting and deadlifting. How do I do that? And then it became, if I put a belt on and I crank that thing, what am I signaling to the body? Yeah, listen, transverse abdominis and rectus abdominis and obliques, internal, external. I got this. You don't have to turn on. I got this belt freaking from United States. I can crank that thing another couple of holes, and that is my core. So from the early on, I was like, no. I want these little freaking muscles which I don't even know in the anatomy chart what they're freaking called. I want that guy to turn on. And so I want that guy to turn on every single time. I want my core to be the rate limiting factor in everything I do. Because then when that thing starts to fail, I get signaling from the back, okay, I'm rounding. I think wearing a belt plays with some of that signaling, plays with some of that feedback, and you lose that raw sensation of the feedback or your positioning, where you are in space. You lose a little bit of that. And what you do on top of that, so you lose the signaling, but you also are now artificially stronger in your core. And so now you load the bar a little bit more. So you're lifting weights that are more than you are, and you have less signaling. So now you're kind of like double whammying your way to an injury because you are now relying on something that's external, and you don't even have your intrinsic sensory system where it should be.
It's the arousal equivalent of using equipment.
That's kind of like, that was my initial feeling. And then you kind of read around and it's like, oh yeah, some belts give you 5% for some people, some give you 10%. I'm like, okay, all right. And then I thought, okay, so how long does it take for you to learn how to use a belt? Oh, a few months, you'll get the hang of it. Okay, cool. So how about this? How I build always raw strength. And if Ivan ever gets to a 300 kilo squat and I ever, think I'm worthy enough to go break an Australian record, cool. I'll get the belt, I'll practice with a couple of months, and then I'll kind of exhibit it that way. That was kind of the thinking back in the day. But now, like, I'm of the opinion, I've got a belt. I rarely use it. I've used it like twice. Now I understand that even using knee wraps, freaking belt, wrist wraps, elbow wraps, all of that can be an overloading tool where you are training a different part of the range of motion. I used to be that guy that used to think it's either ATG, full range of motion, or nothing. But that is wrong. Like, when you see guys like Paul Anderson back in the day doing pin squats, and it's like, why would you do pin squat? It's like you're overloading a movement at a different strength curve, and all of that can carry over. So because of that overloading aspect, I've changed my tune on that, even though I still haven't fully embraced it. But that's kind of the basis of my evolution of thinking there. I still do overloading movements here and there. Like recently I did, what are they called? Dr. squats. The ones where you use an SSB and you hold onto the rack in front of you. You're kind of using your hands as well as
the Hatfield squat?
Hatfield squat. Thanks, man. Yeah, that's the one. I recently started doing that, and I was like doing 260 kilos for a set of 5, man. Like, just crazy amount of weight. The days after that, I was having severe lat DOMs.
Using your shoulder extensors to pull you up. Yeah.
So it's a great way to overload the eccentric. So like you're super, super overpowered in the eccentric phase. As we know, we are generally stronger in the eccentric phase. So you can use that exercise to get down, slowly control it as much as you can. And then out of the hole, you're stapled. Use everything you got in you to get out. So even something like that, I think there is a time and place for it. And same with the equipment. I think that's kind of where I've come from where I've come from.
So in terms of favorite squat variations, you're obviously doing high bar for the majority of your training, high bar back squat. You said Hatfield squat. What else do you find is the biggest bang for buck for improving squats?
I think it depends on who you are and how you're built in terms of like your proportions. That's one thing that I've found out, even though I kind of resisted as much as I could. Your proportions of how you build dictates a lot of how your training program should be. So these cookie cutter programs that don't take that into account are going to have you, some people are going to succeed really well, other people are going to get screwed over. So for somebody like me, long-legged, short torso, inclination to lean over, that's kind of my pattern when I start to fail. For somebody like me, I think front squats is the way to go. In terms of your overloading, that's fantastic. For somebody like me, who also is quite good at front squats, my percentages of my high bar and front squat are quite close. For somebody like me, with ability to squat quite narrow, wide stance is fantastic. This is something that I absolutely hated with my whole organism. I hated the sight of seeing those powerlifting squats where the dude's got his legs out
It's like
this.
Westfield barbell, West Side barbell with the highly equipped. They're just super wide.
They've got this material from outer space. It's like 100 different stitches, and the dude's got no muscle on him. Seems like some skinny guys, like a skeleton in, but he's got like 400 kilos on there, and he's got next to no freaking range of motion. And you're like, what is going on here, man? So remove all of that other, accessory stuff. Doing wide stance squats to parallel is something that recently I've done, and I'm horrible. I'm absolutely horrible, and now I've taken back all of the things I've ever said about those West Side boys. The equipment is still kind of sour in my mouth, but I am horribly weak with like a super wide stance to parallel. I'm horribly weak. I don't know what structures are failing me in that, but my hip strength is disastrous. So Louis Simmons is a big influence on me, the man that started the whole West Side Barbell Club. Even though his style of lifting was something that I resented for years, the man made sense to me. It resonated with me. I've listened to all of his videos, like I've read a lot of his stuff. The man basically, if you want to cut it down to the bare bones, the man basically said this: do what you suck at, and make sure you don't suck at it anymore.
Yeah, and if you're a science or enthusiast type of person when it comes to fitness, you can dive into, okay, why is the wide stance squat helping in this case? Maybe it's getting some more adductors in the mix, it's getting some more glutes because it's more posterior chain dominant. If all you do is the other type of squat, great. But if you just have that simple heuristic of, this is hard for me, I'm probably weak in this from a central nervous system perspective as well as muscular perspective, I will improve. And that's often enough. If you marry that with hard work, you will go so far. And that's where you almost get those, I'm sure you've seen the different demographic of lifters online as well as in gyms. You tend to have extremes, and then there's like some in the middle. You've either got the optimized scientific lifter who's trying to tick every box of making it as, proper on paper as possible. And you get that pure meathead who's just, you can tell he does not give two F's about what he's doing, but he's just heaving, hoisting, exerting himself, doing the same movement again and again, lifting heavier and getting results.
Oh man, you've hit such a good spot in me right now, man. That is a great bucket of thought right there. I don't know how many times, man, like I've seen that guy in the gym, man, and that guy online. That dude, I don't even know if he could spell the word form, but he's heaving so much freaking weight off the ground, and you're like, you are abusing me physically and mentally right now. Everything I know tells me you should be dead. But not only are you not dead, you are an incredible lifter. And so this is where I feel maybe science is 50 years behind of some of these dudes that are in the field right now doing well. Science tends to trail, I feel like. It's almost like a history channel, science sometimes. It's like there's hardcore sciences like physics, mathematics. Cool, fine. I feel like the stuff we're in, it's almost like a loose science where it's not the academics that dictate the pace. It's the people in the field that are showing us what it takes to hit the records. And then the lab coats come running around and start to measure stuff and like, oh yeah, he did that because of this. Obviously, it's a balancing act and one helps the other, but it's not like physics where, yeah, man, the speed of light is this. That planet over there is 150 million light years away. You're not gonna get a guy walking over there and be like, yeah, I reckon I measured it, dude. You're right, man. Like you're spot on. You can't do that. So the field and the lab together I feel like I'm much more balanced in this field, and this is why I feel like that dude, that meathead, as much as it hurts, there's something to be learned from this guy, man.
Yeah, yeah. And from what I've seen, it appears that people don't need more knowledge, more scientific understanding of what they're doing. They need consistency as well as intensity, because I feel at odds with that when I'm making content, because I'm coming from a physio background. I like to explain and get information across where they can, have it and go away with it. But then what frustrates me is I can't convey effort, passion, which I have a bias towards doing more so. My love first and foremost is training hard all the time. But you can't teach that, which is so hard, unless it's through action. People see a hard set, they're like, geez, this guy's, his face is changing color. He's just really exerting himself. He can't speak. That's what we need to instill in people.
It's that whole debate of, how far can passion get you? How far can hard work get you? Even if you have poor mechanics, let's say, like I'm a basketball guy, you have guys with really, you would never teach anybody to shoot like that, yet he shoots at a really good clip. The dude just put in billions of freaking reps into this. And, it's weird, but it was working for him. So, passion, if you're passionate enough and you practice even something bad, you can get stronger. It's the whole, I remember, guys talking about the Jefferson curl, the bent over back thing, fully rounded over, like every lumbar, every thoracic freaking vertebra is pinching its disc. Everything's like, load that. But why would you load that, dude? That's like me, walking on my rolled ankles. How about we start? I'll walk on my fully rolled ankles. But what are we trying to do? That it's such a debate in my mind. Are we trying to prevent that position? So why are we exercising in that position? Oh no, but the spine is meant to do that. We haven't been splintered. Our back is not supposed to be straight all the time. You should be strong in that position. So these meatheads, man, I watched the Ronnie Coleman podcast with Shannon Sharp. I don't know if you know Shannon Sharp. He's like an ESPN guy, A-lister. And Ronnie Coleman was on that podcast with him, and they were like, Ronnie, take us through your workout. And he's like, man, all I ever did was dumbbells and barbells. I did some leg press here and there, but dumbbells and barbells. And he's going through, row this way, barbell row this way. It was all free weights, man. What? So you built a back with rows? Oh yeah, sometimes pull-ups. So rows built your back. T-bar rows. You're a meathead, dude. Now bodybuilders have this, isolateral lever thing, the button on
Got to target the iliac lat, get that cross-body stretch. Don't worry about only vertical and horizontal.
He's just screaming, yeah, buddy, put 10 plates on and rode that shit. It's like, what? One of the best freaking physical specimens. And he's a genetic marvel, obviously. We can't just all follow Michael Jordan and do jump shots. No one's got a 50-inch vertical like him. So, but there's something to be learned about that. Maybe just barbell rowing is all you need.
It's such a challenge in the fitness space, because then you can look at Ronnie Coleman's training, which was extremely minimalistic, to his fault. You can look back now and say that objectively, because he had so many hip surgeries, he was broken by the end of it. If he just changed his loading, okay, Ronnie, you love barbell, dumbbell, keep doing that. But you don't have to do less than 6 reps, mate. You can do some higher reps on those movements, or have a balanced approach by doing some machines and stuff too. The balanced, well-rounded approach to fitness, taking domains of machines are useful in their own way, free weights are useful in their own way, and then putting it together into a holistic practice just isn't polarizing enough. It doesn't draw people's attention. But this is the reality of what people are doing behind closed doors of social media. The best that are doing this for the longest.
I don't know. I have this tendency to be attracted to extremes, whatever field. So I remember watching Beckham, and I'm like, I love that guy so much. He's the best at kicking the ball from the free kick. Cool. But he's got many deficits. He's not a really good defender. I don't really care. I remember liking all these specialists. Like this guy shoots the ball really, really well, but he can't do this at all. To that extremist kind of thinking, oh yeah, I want to do squat every day, bro. All I want to do is singles. So I'll go from here and I'll go to the moon with singles. It's just like that attracts me for some reason. Like it's always, and I think most people get attracted to that.
The advantage of that is it really constrains what you do because you have, I'm going to squat. There's no other choice. I'm not going to come in today and do a leg press, a leg extension, a lunge. You're doing squats. You can't hide from yourself and what you've done previously or what you're trying to do. Whereas that is the paralysis by analysis, fear of missing out, overwhelming options that we have now. You don't have to commit to anything. You can go in and just do a completely different exercise every single time. And if you're serious about making strength and muscle progress, that's not the best way to do it.
Yeah. And recently, again, in the last 12 months, that whole thing about do what you're weak at, cool, no worries. So I did a hack squat for the first time in I can't remember the last time I did a hack squat. Dude, I could hardly do like half a plate. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here, man? I can squat 215, yet I can't. I saw a chick the other day doing more, like 2 plates. What the hell's wrong with me, man? So I'm doing this machine week after week. I'll start to get better at it, or I'm getting better. I don't really care if it's free weight or not free weight. If you suck at it, do it. I think there's something to be gained out of that. Leg press, belt squat. I started doing, like I said, hack squats. Lunges. I'm horrible at lunges. That's probably a good indicator that you should be doing that. So it's addressing, so this is my latest kind of thinking. I don't really care about the muscles involved, where that was my previous thing. I reckon that adductor magnet, yes, I reckon that's weak, it's causing everything. And so you start doing isolation. No. I think that more if you're performance orientated, instead of thinking about muscles as a front thing, think about movements. Are you good at split stance squats? Are you good at wide stance squats? Are you good at normal stance squats, flat heel, elevated heel? And so then you've got a map now. I suck most at wide stance squats, followed by split stance squats. Okay, so what do I reckon is responsible for the wide stance weakness? We mentioned adductors, probably adductors and glutes. External rotation of the femur is not so much required as much it is in the wide as it is in narrow. So maybe something about the femur being externally rotated, that musculature is not as strong as it needs to be. Hit that. And so I've kind of approached that, So in the hack squat, why am I sucking the hack squat? I don't really know. I suspect it's got something to do with isolating the quad in this whole system. Only the quad is now the primary. Do that. And so, yeah, the extreme approach, even though it's sexy and appealing, it's not the best way to go about it. And this goes even any level. Like the coach that's coaching the Manchester United right now, he's got his own little extreme views about how football should be played. But then he hits a wall. Do you burn down with that ideology, or do you try and change?
Yeah, it's not so black and white and simple as do this, don't do that. I used to be more of a purist myself, being, barbell squat over everything. But then understanding the merit, if you're doing a squat pattern, whether it's a hack squat, Hatfield squat, front squat, even a lunge is a squat pattern in some way, depending on how you do it, you will get benefits in leg strength by doing that. I just invite people not to constantly swap what they're doing to hide away from effort. When it starts to get to that plateau where you get nervous before doing the exercise and you're like, you know what, I'll just change exercise. I'll still have a good workout. It goes into what is difficult, what challenges you mentally, and beyond just the physical numbers of that workout, overcoming that internal apprehension, anxiety, and just the little bitch in yourself, so to speak. That is just, it's so powerful with exercise.
Oh, without a doubt. If you listen to some of the greats of the fields, like Louis Simmons, like I mentioned, like he's a great influence on me. He used to say, like, swap exercises out every 4 weeks, every 3-4 weeks. His idea was that he was trying to avoid overuse injuries. Now, he's dealing with people that are super advanced. These are all kind of like around the world record. So listening to people like that is also might not be the most helpful for an intermediate or a beginner. For a beginner, I would recommend stick with the basics for quite a while. Don't swap out your back squats and your deadlifts and your rows and whatever for a while. So this is where it's tricky also, because you need to know where that person is coming from. Louis Simmons didn't deal with people like me. I wouldn't even be able to get into the freaking gym. He's dealing with blokes that are squatting 300 plus kilos. So somebody like him, somebody like Michael Phelps, somebody like Michael Jordan, Schumacher, like these people are different. Like this is an elite class of performance. Sure, it is glorious to listen to some guy like that talk about what he does, but you're not there. And so there's another element of what do you do? Do I swap out every 3 weeks, or do I try and squeeze out a bit more? Because to be honest with you, overuse injuries for a beginner are not going to be the same as an advanced lifter. The beginner's using 40 kilos in the bench press. This guy's using 180 kilos in the bench press. So in terms of overuse, probably this guy has more, maybe 8 weeks in him, maybe the whole year. Who knows? So that's another thing that I kind of, the frequency, the variation, specificity. Oh man, I dreamed. So when I first heard about the Bulgarians, Ivan Abajev back in the day when he was coaching the Bulgarians, winning all these gold medals. When I first discovered that there is a man in a team with heaps of winning, and all they did was specificity, my soul was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is like basketball. I'm sitting on the free throw line, shooting my free throws day and night. That's exactly what I thought about when I heard this guy. So hold on. All they do is clean and jerk? Clean and... Wow. Okay. All I really want to do is be good at the squat. I'm just going to do the squat. I don't really care if I look like I've never lifted. I want to be strong. I want to be strong in just one movement, which is a squat. And then years down the track, I started, playing around with all these different things, all these issues. And then I was like, but wait, Ivan. What you fail to realize is that he was only dealing with national, international level lifters. They've already done the bloody variation, man. They've already done 10, 15, 20 years of general strength and conditioning. They didn't walk off the street and be like, yeah, no worries. I'll do Bulgarian every day. Yep, cool. Nah, dude, they're already elite lifters. They've already done the variation. So specificity is great, but you can't live off of that. You need to still do the work.
And a great way to introduce some variety, novelty, and also modify intensity is varying your rep ranges. Can you talk about the benefits of using low reps, moderate reps, and different rep schemes?
Yeah, that's something that is near and dear to my heart. Obviously, the closer you get to one, you're training the nervous system predominantly. Yes, there is a strength component to it. The fibers are also working. That's fantastic. But when you're doing a one, the central nervous system is getting the most kind of work. That is pure expression of strength. And strength is a neuromuscular expression. People just think this is just a muscle game. And hey, strength is neuromuscular. As you go to like 10 and plus reps, you start getting into that muscular fatigue. And so it doesn't take so much out of you to pump up every rep. But what you start to get into is like the energy systems of the muscles, lactate and all the rest of it. You start to kind of burn the fuel, which is in the muscle. So in my personal experience, if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squats, reps, I never feel the quads. Never. I squat every day, dude, and I've never felt my quads work. There's many aspects to it, but I never feel it. You get me to do 100 rep set with just body weight squats, my quads are burning. It is like nausea inducing. There's no weight on my back, dude. I'm doing 100 in a set, and I feel more quad activation than I do when I'm doing a single. So that is the spectrum. So this is why I've done crazy things like the pig squat routine, where it's the volume that takes certain aspects of certain tissue to do better. So that's variation in terms of just muscle tissue difference throughout the whole body. There are certain aspects of us that are more kind of slow twitch fibers, certain aspects of us that are more, fast twitch. There's that kind of layer of all of that. But like we were saying before, I think the best approach is to have moments where you're doing 10 plus and moments when you're doing fives. And, it's the classical periodization. You start to do bodybuilding, then you do strength, and then you do peaking. And, bodybuilding is like 8 to 12, strength is like fives. And then, peaking is like your singles, doubles, triples if you really want to go that much. But that's kind of the spectrum. So the periodization is essentially trying to take all of those eggs and address all of these qualities, muscular qualities, nervous qualities, and put them into the same program. That's kind of where you should be if you really want to do all of it. Obviously, bodybuilders are like, I don't really get nothing out of peaking. I don't really want to mess around with the fives either because it's a high degree of technical proficiency that you need to avoid injury. So I'm going to stick with the 8 and 12s, and I'm just going to rotate all of these exercises around the place, and I'll do that. So there's pockets of population that just stick to one. Like me, for years, all I really did was bloody peaking. All I really wanted to squeeze out the neuro efficiency of my squat. I want every fiber in my body to be peaking all the time and try and kind of get progress that way. Well, essentially, I got to a stage where I didn't have enough horsepower. I didn't have enough bloody tissue to contract, like the famous, what was his name, Jim Wendler. He's another famous coach in the strength sphere. He once said that you can't flex bone, So you can peak all you want, bro, but you don't have any more muscles. So you need to get some damn muscle on you.
Yeah. I will say there is value if your goal is only strength or only building muscle to play with a variety of rep ranges. Case in point, if you want to maximize your strength, the muscle tissue that you have in that exercise facilitates strength. Bigger cross-sectional area, bigger potential for strength when you teach it how. Conversely, if you just want to build muscle, say you're stuck in that 8 to 12 rep range on an exercise at a weight, there is room to lift heavier weights in the 8 to 12 rep range by playing with lower rep ranges and heavier weights. And it doesn't have to be some all-out effort. It could just be, for a 4 to 6 week block, if all you ever do is 3 sets of 8 to 12 on exercise, build up to a heavy triple of some kind, not to failure, but heavier than you would for the 8 to 12, progress that over the weeks. And what you'll notice is that just by doing that one top set, you should over time be more comfortable handling more weight in the 8 to 12.
Without a doubt. This is where these different pockets of this industry, of this thinking, we would do a lot better if we did whatever the other team did for a while. So if you're a powerlifter, do some bodybuilding for a couple of months, whatever, you'll be better off. The bodybuilder, do some powerlifting for a little while, man, you'll be better off.
What's the weakness? In both cases, the powerlifter isn't comfortable doing the higher rep ranges. The bodybuilder isn't comfortable with lower reps, higher weights.
Yeah. I don't know how many times, man, because of what I do and how I make my videos and what I care about heaps more than anything, a lot of the people that I converse with are usually the powerlifting types, and people at the gym, the powerlifters come to me and, you surround yourself with the people that are kind of like you. And so many times in my mind, over the years, I look at these people, I'm like, dude, you don't even look like you lift, bro. I don't even look like I live. Well, there's something wrong with us, dude. Why don't we just freaking go over there and do some bicep curls or some shit?
You can't say that. That's uncharted territory. It's not strength.
Yeah. You can't do that, man. But it's man, so many conversations. But some guy comes up to me and he's like, man, Ivan, what do you reckon for the bench press? I'm stuck at 130. I'm looking at his triceps and I'm like, do you have any triceps? He's just a skinny arm guy, no chest.
Yeah, it's all torso, very torso dominant.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, you have squeezed the lights out of what your body has. You need to build some tissue, dude. At the end of the day, you need some tissue. And something that I've really, really noticed is that the bodybuilder community, so many of them have really nice bench presses. They can't squat, they can't deadlift, but they have so much bench press. They have size, they have all this stuff, right? And I'm like, man, that bodybuilder is out benching me, man. That's weird. He doesn't care about benching, and he's out benching me because he's got tissue. He's got size on his back. Whereas the powerlifters, we have this muscle density in the lower back, in the glutes, in the adductors, the things that give you hip extension, the things that, make you good at squats and just hip extension, right? But a bodybuilder, like, do you really need humongous strong glutes? At a certain point, it gets to a point where it's like, nah, like that's messing with my shape. Like, you don't want a gorilla bum. It's an aesthetic thing. So I usually think to myself, man, maybe I should do what the bodybuilder is doing in order for me to improve my bench press. But yeah, it's about doing what we don't want to do. It hurts my soul to say that. I wish there was a world, that there was a realm, there was a universe, there was a planet in the universe where I could just go and, I don't know, if the gravity is such and maybe we're not carbon based, maybe we're like silicon based or something. I don't know. Well, all you can do is just squat and you end up being a monster. I wish there was a planet like that, but this planet doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. I'd like to ask you something about mindset, because it's rare to speak to someone that has consistently been training hard for so many years. Surely you struggle with the mindset of trying to improve, striving to improve, but then also just a sense of contentment for where you're at. How do you juggle that balance?
I've sunk 10 plus years into this, and I feel like I should be better. Is something that I tackle with often, and recently I've made a bit of a spiel about it, especially at the end of the years. I struggle with reviewing a year. Every year I sit down and I write my little journal and I make a video or a review. And I struggle with this process. Debriefing, reviewing is a struggle for me, even though this year is a very good success. Like, I'm very happy with my numbers. It's still kind of hard to grasp if I'm content with where I am. And then what am I doing, like, moving forward? The mental aspect in life in general, I feel like, is where the battlefield is. Same with bodybuilding or powerlifting or whatever, this whole dysmorphia thing. It's like, you are never going to be enough. It's never going to be enough. I hit 285 on the deadlift recently. I was happy, I reckon, for maybe 11 seconds, 12 seconds. I don't know how long it took me to get to the camera and turn it off. And I was like, right. Straight away, my mind goes into the review process. What did I do to get here? How do I replicate that so I can get to 290? And it's like, God damn, dude, man, can we just be here for a little while and just be happy with this shit? And just be freaking happy with the 285? Why am I going to be good at 290? But it's kind of like, Bill Gates, goes to Kmart to buy his t-shirts and drives a Corolla around. What the hell's wrong with that guy? Because you're obsessed with the process, man. It's not the result, dude. The result doesn't really matter anymore. What gets me freaking turned on is like, how do I replicate that and just keep going? But the biology, the way we are, we're a moving target constantly. So just when you've pinned down a nice little program for yourself and you just huge progress, the target will move. Or in the sense that we're talking about, the weakness will move. Or now if you've graphed everything, every muscle in the body, you've raised that weakest link, the last dominoes. Now that's a strength. So now you look at the whole graph. Where is the next weakness? And it's constantly moving. And so in the sense, I'm always kind of like, always searching, always looking forward, always obsessed about the process, about studying how the body works. And all of the other stuff around, the 285s, the 215s, the 150s, on the bench press, all these numbers, all of this stuff is just like a side effect of a larger process. And I think as long as I am still in love with the process, the happiness and the conversations always end in a positive note, because it's just this, deep dive into something that is so complex. And so I get a lot of satisfaction and a lot of happiness from that. And so I've kind of moved away from the whole result-based, reward system. It's more about the process.
I'm glad to hear that I'm not alone with having that type of internal chatter with myself, because over time I've come to enjoy the process more than the outcome of hitting a PB on my weighted pull up, weighted dip, whatever movement that I'm doing, and just really trying to lean into being present with the actual workout, what it has to offer me physically, mentally, and trying to have more fun during it, because it's always been in the past about, I'm working towards this, the future. But, when you've been doing that for more than 15 years, I think the conversation in your head has to change. And it's just trying to juggle, not being completely content. And then I just put in this lackluster effort and then I lose satisfaction because I'm not pushing myself. But it's this harmony of the process with doing hard things, I think, is a great summary of what brings the joy from all this stuff.
And I often tell people around here, especially that 17-year-old that I mentioned earlier, I said to him, man, like, if you fall in love with the process, you're going to be here until you're 35, like me. If you're obsessed with results, you're probably going to chasing the path which I highly do not recommend you do, which is the whole, let me start playing with some endocrine system. Let's start doing this, that, the other. These are the people that are obsessed with the results. They're not in love for the game. They're in the game for what the game is going to offer them. And you often see that in the NBA and football and whatever. There's guys that are completely mad about it, like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordans. They want to win. They love the game. And then there's guys like James Harden who are just like, they signed the max contract. They're in the strip club every night and they go to the game drunk and whatever. They're still incredible players. But he's not really all about that, if you fall in love with the process of training, your prolonged plateaus, your prolonged, what I call sucking shit, it's not going to matter to you because you're still in love with the process. I love, like, I'm cooked that way, dude. It's now like whatever time it is, I'm like, I can't wait for whatever we need to do today, and then I'll end up at the gym. And I'm looking forward to the gym. I'm like, dude, it's been 5 damn years of gym every day, man, and you're still looking forward to it. Like, I know, like, I know the trend, dude. I ain't got to set a PR today. Like, I've had years of no PRs. But there's something in me that goes like, oh, dude, I can't wait. Put those shoes on, warm up.
You're more immune and resilient to the outcome. Yes, we want to improve every single workout in the perfect world. We want to be absolutely in bliss every single rep of an exercise that we're doing. That's not the case. That's not realistic. But if you change your mindset to, I'm just going to go in there and I have a plan, I'm following it, I will use auto-regulation, I'll give my best effort, whatever that is today, you can't lose.
Yeah, you can't lose. And the thing is, over the years, this is my, I guess I'll tell you now, like the utmost comforting feeling and thought that I have. I have this degree of confidence, degree of sureness, absoluteness, that if I was to live 1,000,000 years, I'll work this out. I would have done every exercise about 1,000,000 times, and I would have ran 1,000,000 blocks, and I would have documented 1,000,000 different things, and it's just easy to kind of put everything together, like in my quantum physics brain, like, right? Put it all together and make it out. When I was 25, I had so little knowledge about all of this stuff. Like, it was, how did I even not break my back? Now I have so much clarity, and I have all these, like, I call them couplets. Okay, so this exercise goes well with this. So if you want to bench really, really well, man, you got to do pronation and supination and rising. Arm wrestling exercises keeps my elbows healthy. For whatever reason, my elbow goes crazy if I do too much volume. So if for this next month, you want to go, so bench pressing is on your mind. Cool. Start doing some wrist movement, supination, pronation, all of that. That will allow you to do the volume in the bench press, and that volume will allow you to be strong in the bench press. So these things I had no idea about at 25. Ivan, if you really want to go to the deadlift, you gotta stretch your adductors. Yeah, leg press is a great thing. Hack squats is a great thing. Wide stance is a great thing. Flexion, so like sit-ups, absolutely great. This is the recipe if Ivan wants to project and try and chase that 290. So I've got all these ideas, these couplets, this coupling effect of exercises, which kind of accentuates some other exercises. It's like that whole, synergy. You are greater than the sum of your parts. So there's all these different exercises, but like what really kind of excites me is mashing these certain exercises before you even touch the barbell to squat or deadlift. And it kind of makes you better at that. So I have this confidence that as the years go on and on and on, my ability to couple things together is going to get better and better. And I'm going to try and kind of, even though my years will probably start to kind of work towards me or against me when I get into my 40s and 45, I'll be able to kind of have stronger up here. I would have made gains up here, which maybe would have offsetted some of the decay that I would have had as a 45-year-old because of endocrine, because of whatever, age and the rest of it.
That's a fantastic takeaway about you have to commit yourself to your goal. If it's, in your case, was the squat, bench, deadlift. In my case, I prioritize and take a lot of value in the pull-up. You keep doing that. You get the specificity, you vary your rep ranges, you play with different intensities all the way to failure, some from failure. You stick to the movement, you do some variations, but also looking to where is weak in that exercise. For me, I always just did the pull-up and that was it. But then I stalled in terms of my 1 rep max. So I'm like, okay, where have I got room to improve here? I never overload the start of the exercise. So introducing something, a dumbbell pullover, a lat prayer on a cable machine, bam, weakness in the initiation phase, I improve. Or where else am I weak in pulling? Biceps. I never do any isolation in the early years. Do some bicep curls. That feeds into the pull-up, it improves. So having your core goal, great, but then use that as a framework to see where you're weak. Humble yourself. Do the stuff that you're not good at.
I love that. I love that. I've brought him up a million times already this podcast, but Louis Simmons used to say, and it resonates with me all the time. I think about it all the time. It's like he used to say stuff like, so what are you doing for your squat to improve? Okay, I'm doing box squats. Okay, so what are you doing for your box squat to improve? I'm doing leg extensions. Okay, so what are you doing for the leg extensions to improve? I don't know. You need 4 levels. He used to say 4 or 5 levels. And then eventually get to the point where like, yeah, I'm doing bloody toe curls like to improve the other thing, you know? So you break it all down into like all these aspects, which is, you know, the whole thing about you're doing overloading exercises, super maximize like pin squats. Dude, I used to see pin squats when I was like 10 years younger. And I'm like, ego lifter. Why would you do that? It's all about range of motion. And then you start to kind of unravel some of the intricacies and you're like, I don't know if that guy was even aware of what he was doing, but there is a place of overloading movements. I've done, man, this is going to sound crazy. I've done a 300 kilo pin squat where I moved the bar this much. Like the freaking squat rack is, the safety pins are so high. I get underneath it and like you're moving the earth away, dude. Like at this point, you feel like the earth is moving away from the bar. That's how heavy the bar is. But I've lifted 300 and you're standing there. You have 300. So I was capable of 200 kilo squats at the time. I'm lifting 300 on my back. I've pulled a muscle in my scapula. I don't know if it's a rhomboid or something. I don't know what was going on. I pulled that muscle holding this weight in my shoulders. The core activation, my ribs hurt the following day. So intercostals, like I don't know what. So doing your isolation exercises, we're doing the Russian twists. That is fantastic. But the other spectrum of that is put the house on top of you. Hold it. There's something about sheer weight. And so these overloading exercises, we're using stupid amounts of weights for such tiny ranges of motion. There's something there. Obviously, that is so taxing that immediately after that, you need to go to the couch and nap because you are just.
But the difference there is you know why you're doing that. A common thing that people get wrong in their training is they'll read things online, plug in all these exercises into their program. They don't know specifically what it's doing. And then you end up in this almost fatigue stew where you're doing so many things and you're not sure what it's doing. You're just getting tired. You've strayed away from your goals. So being selective and knowing why you're doing it, for me personally, it allows me to put my heart and soul into what I'm doing. I know that if I am working on my iliopsoas, hip flexor strength with leg raises, it is going to help my squat because it helps with the core strength as it integrates into that. I can put it in perspective, and I can actually do the effort, not just go through the motions, but genuinely push yourself and be consistent.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Fatigue stew. That made me giggle, man, because I've been there. I'm running like, at the end of the day, we're all kind of like mini scientists running little experiments. You have these constants, right? I've been in situations where I've got like 35 different variables. It was just chaos. So much noise. You can't measure anything.
Yeah, and then you could just say to yourself, oh yeah, it was because of this exercise. No, I actually added 12 extra things this cycle.
Oh, it's oh man, that is so juicy. I love it. I've had I look back to the journal, I'm like, and the other thing is decay. Decay is another word, man. So you hit a PR in June, and you look back for the month, you're like, okay, so in May I did this. This is what's done it. Nah, dude. What about March and February? Do you reckon that had no effect in what happened in June? It's like, what is the decay of that exercise? It just gets so noisy. It's so hard because tissues behave weirdly. Some tissues recover longer. So this is where I've made such false hypotheses in the past where I'm like, yeah, definitely. This exercise did this. But then I try to repeat that experiment and I get nothing. And you're like, well, damn it, what happened now?
Yeah, sometimes, controversially so, the less you know and the more you placebo yourself into believing that something works, even if it's not for the reasons that it should be, and it gets the results, and it's not harming anyone, yourself or others, is it such a bad thing sometimes, like this delusional optimism?
Yeah. I have this funny thing that my wife and my two best buddies around me, it's become a meme. They're like, Ivan, how's training? And I'm like, dude, I think I'm onto something, man. I'm onto something. I've said it like a million times already, I feel so passionate about this new exercise that I've done, dude. It made my squat feel amazing. Oh, dude, my deadlift was flying off the ground when I did this. And this thing, they're like, yeah, all right, man, no worries. Like, 3 times, but it feels so right in the moment.
For sure. Mr. Squat Every Day, where can people find out more about your work if they want to follow you?
So mostly it's YouTube. So just type in Ivan Djuric on YouTube, Squat Every Day. I'm sure I'll pop up. That's most of my work that are dedicated to this. And then also Instagram. I'm on Instagram as well. I upload snippets of the main, highlights of what's happening on YouTube. But yeah, YouTube is where I do most of my work and share this crazy passion of mine.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
No, appreciate you, man.